So I have a couple of notes because I don't have a good memory. The next speaker will try to answer to a question, which is to be or not to be, or to flee or to fight, sorry. Matteo Valentini, which is already here, is a developer, works mainly on the distribution of NethServer Linux, which is an open source operating system. And during his journey, he has had to answer to the question that I've said before many, many times. So, Matteo, the floor is yours. Yeah. A round of applause for him.
Okay. Let's start our journey in the most classical way. Once upon a time, there was a Linux distribution with a clear mission and a clear vision. The vision was to make the life of sysadministrator easier with open source. And the mission was to leverage the the power of Linux without complexity. To fulfill this vision and mission, the Linux distribution that was called NethServer have three main key features. The first is that it is an only one paradigm. So with one instance, you can install all the software, the service that you need. It's simple, so it's simple to configure, simple to operate, simple to manage. And at the same time must be customizable, so you can customize based on your needs. The technical stack that was chosen for build this distribution was to use CentOS as base. Then, on top of CentOS, there is Smith. Smith is an automatic provisioning layer that is responsible for the configuration of the service, for example, for the expansion of the configuration fields, based on some template engine and some value. Then, on top of that, there is a web guy that was made with Cockpit, that is a Red Hat project, with some custom module created by the NethServer distribution. So you can easily manage your system via a simplified web guide. This is an overview of the status of configuration. We have the CentOS as base, then the layer of the NethServer distribution, and on top of that, we have our service that we want to offer. But all is easily managed by a simple web guide. The vision of NethServer also extends to the community, because NethServer have beyond that a large community of users that is composed mainly by around 5,000 members, around 100 of active users for months, 1,000 of posts for months, and is mainly composed by hobbyists, so people that want to run his own home server at home, sysadmin of small, medium business, most of the part, so someone with also enterprise business, and developer that want to build his own product, his own software based on NethServer. And also is an international community because it's composed of people from around 122 countries spread across all the countries, all the continents. This vision also guides a company, because behind NethServer there is Netedis. Netedis is an open source company. It's the creator and main maintainer of the NethServer distribution. Netedis uses NethServer as base for their product. And an important thing is that the core business of Netedis is the selling of the support to a wide network of resellers. So we don't, our direct customer is not the final user, but another company that sell our product, and we need to make support to them. So, why the vision of NethServer is so important for NethServer, the company? Because one of the strengths of NethServer is that it is simple and powerful for our developers, so we can easily develop on top of that our product, our service. Because it's simple, it's also simple to use to our reseller. And most important, is simple for our support team to support our reseller. All this was the situation around 2018, then something started to change. At the horizon, new trees start to appear. First of all, there is the lost and old friends. Because with CentOS 7 was put in end of life by Red Hat, we know that we can't count anymore on a base, a stable base. We evaluate the porting of the NethServer to the next version of CentOS 8, but at the time, because CentOS 8 was very different compared to CentOS 7, the porting was too complicated, so we decided to take a pause. Don't migrate, don't jump the bridge. Another thing that happened around the end of 2020 it was that with CentOS Stream, Red Hat decided to put the CentOS distribution not anymore as a downstream of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, but as upstream of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So CentOS switched from a stable battle-tested solution to a more unstable solution, more testing. So we can't rely anymore on that. And when this thing happened, we started to evaluate our next steps. Right now, you can have mainly three choices. One choice is to do nothing, remain as you are, don't evolve, and most likely extinguish yourself. Or you can react to the change. And for reacting, you can, oh, sorry. I jump in directly in another slide. By the way, another thing that happened at the time that it was very important is that the world is changing. And at the time, another thing that changed was that we now are in a hybrid scenario. It's more common. So the company and the project want to be run on cloud or on-premise. There is a multi-node, the solution must be multi-node, so you can run your solution in multiple nodes. And another thing that changed in the period that right now the world is full of container. We recognize the power of our container paradigm, but at the time, the NethServer 7 distribution don't support natively the container. So this is also the loss of CentOS 7. There is also this challenge that we have to face. Told you before, you can choose to, for example, buy something, so adopt something in or flight, or you can fight for it, so maybe make it something new. Let's see what are the advances and disadvantages of the two choices. For example, if we decide to make something, we can adapt Kubernetes. We can decide to base the next version of NethServer on Kubernetes. And the pro of this choice is that Kubernetes is a standard de facto. Everybody uses it, basically. It's always proved as a good solution for the containerization workflow, multi-node, hybrid scenario. Have a rich ecosystem, if you think about all the CNF landscape. And the market declared as the winner of the orchestration war. The cons of NethServer is that it's complex, it's more complex compared to a classic Linux distribution. It's more resource hungry than a classic Linux distribution. And another more important thing that if we choose to adopt Kubernetes, maybe we can lose the uniqueness of our solution and become another project based on Kubernetes. What are the pros and cons of the make choice? So maybe you can choose to make something new. One thing is that can be simple because you can make only what you need. You can tailor your solution on your user and on user case. And also, in this case, you can preserve your uniqueness in the ecosystem. The cons of this approach is that you are your first user. At least in the first time, you are only user of your system, so you can search for help outside. Also, you have to start from scratch. There isn't an ecosystem around your product. And last, most important cons in my point of view is the not invented here syndrome. So you can end up to reinvent the well every time, and it's very frustrating, it's very insidious cons. So at the end of the pros and cons, we as the NethServer project start to think what to do, how we can evolve, how we can evolve. Then the choice was to make it. We decided to make something new because we value more the needs of our user than the trends of the moment. Our users are, most of them are sysadmin, maybe someone old school, and we think that the switching to something like Kubernetes were too high cognitive load. Also for our support can be too high. And another thing that we are community first, so we value more the nature of our community that are, I told you before, hobbyists, sysadmin. And before make this choice, we ask to our community, what do you think we can do next? Also, we know that our community supports us for the uniqueness of our solution. Another important aspect is that we can do it because we are a team of very skilled people. We are ready to create something complex. We are ready to maintain a Linux distribution. And also, we already did it because NethServer Linux distribution was born in 2011 as a fork of NethServer, another distribution. So, from the fight, NethServer 8 was born. Let's see what we have made. We switched from an RPM to a modular architecture. We switched from only one paradigm to a multi-node scalability. From a vertical solution distribution to a versatile application platform. And then we are going to see each of one. First of all, as I told you before, in NethServer 8, there is the module. The module is the fundamental brick of NethServer. It's basically composed of one Unix user with some systemd service user that launch some rootless Podman container and a web UI. So every module has its own web UI for the configuration. And then there are the actions. The actions are a set of scripts that govern the interaction with the system. So basically, if it's a module that can define, for example, the configure module action, will have a directory in their home user with a serial script that govern how the module can be configured. Another feature of the module is that it's self-contained and isolate. It's self-contained because it's bring in the module there is all what application need to work. For example, if you have a module of NethCloud, there will be the service with the container of NethCloud application and maybe the container with the database. It's isolated because every module is a separate Unix user. And because it's self-contained and isolated, you can instantiate the module multiple times. So you can have multiple instances of the NethCloud module in the same node. It's not important. But each instance can be configured with a separate name, host name. I told you before, we have multiple nodes. So there is one leader node and multiple worker nodes. The nodes can be bare metal or in the cloud virtual. It's not important. All the nodes are connected via a FireGuard VPN. So for the application platform part, we have one API server and multiple agents, one for module. The communication between the API server and the agents in the module are made by the Redis database. And the module agents execute the action they are called by the API server. So, for example, if we want to configure one module in one node, the API server will send an action through the Redis database to the module, for example, NethCloud, then with the action called configure module, and an JSON object with all the data for the configuration. Then the agent in the module will take the JSON object and execute all the script in the configure module directory, passing that JSON object as input. And at the end will be also a JSON object as output. The application platform also serves some core service, like for example, the installation and update of a module. So the application platform is responsible for the placement of the module in the cluster. You can clone and move a module from a node to another easily. And another thing that the application platform offers is some primitive for the backup and restore of a module. In this way, a developer don't have to implement all the logic for the backup or restore, but can rely on some primitive. As I told you before, every module has its own UI, so we have multiple modules, but one unified UI. At the end, we switch from a vertical integrated solution to a multi-node modular solution, and we don't rely anymore on a specific distribution, but we have made an application platform that can run on multiple distributions. For example, right now we support Rocky Linux and Debian. But all the classes can be managed, configured by one simple UI. So, at the end, what is the impact of the journey, or this migration, or this evolution of the NethServer project? After nearly 3 years of development, we finally landed with the stable version on the February of the 2024. Then, the same year, the summer, we started a commercial support of the NethServer 8, so our seller can install the cluster of NethServer 8 to their customer and ask us for the support. Another thing that we are creating 60 modules and officially supported by NetEdis. For example, we have the NetVoice, that is our solution for the unified communication, or NethService, that is the groupware part of the NethServer, like server mail, chat, we use Mattermost, groupware. But all the modules, most important, are open source. Right now we have 1,300 active cluster. I checked this data last day. Another important thing that we have more than 100 applications, modules created by our community, not by us. But not everything feel this excitement because someone is expressed their at least frustration because he feel left behind because the change was too much for him and he feels the fatigue of the missing feature because right now we don't have the complete feature parity of the new solution compared to the previous solution. This is something that we also can feel in our support, in our development. We have some work to do. But another big win for us was that for the first time, some member of our community, independently for us, sent a proposal for a talk to the FOSDEM conference and was accepted. So, for the first time, someone talked about the NethServer project at FOSDEM, but it wasn't us. And for us, this was a big win. It's a convalidation on the value of our community. Another thing that happened with this evolution was because NethServer 8 was, we decided to more focus on the cloud part, on the cloud paradigm, the service. We decided to take the security firewall low-level part outside. Before we built it on NethServer 7. So, for fulfill this role, we created the NethSecurity. NethSecurity is a fully featured firewall, fully featured Linux firewall, use a modern web interface, more modern than one in the NethServer 8, in my opinion, and is based on OpenVRT. So, in this case, we choose to be vertical on one solution. So, at the end, what we can learn from the journey of NethServer 8. First of all, one thing that you can create, you have to create a clear vision and mission for your project. This will be very important when you face a challenge. With your clear vision and mission, you can choose what path to follow. Another important thing that I think is important to learn that help us is to understand your strength and leverage on them. In our case, our strength was that we are skilled people, we can do it, and we have a supportive community that we know that we will support our choose, but we also before make some change, we ask to our community what they think about that. And even if you decide to make it, be pragmatic because sometimes it's better to buy. In our case, for example, we don't have to rewrite everything from scratch, but in example, for the centralized login system, we adopted Grafana Loki. Or other components, we take the existing project and adapt for our solution. So, before end, because right now I'm only an humble ambassador, let me give a thanks to all the NethServer development team and our community. Without that, NethServer 8 will be not possible. And please, if you want to know more, maybe try NethServer 8, be involved in the community, join our community, maybe also contribute to NethServer 8, scan this QR code that will be all the information you need. And this is all for the journey of NethServer. I hope that you enjoy the tale of NethServer. And I'm Matteo Valentini, a software developer for the open source company called Kubernetes, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, thank you. So, someone want to say something? Coming?
Just a curiosity over a tiny detail you mentioned during the module intercommunication.
Yes.
You mentioned that you used Redis for implementing message passing.
Yes.
My question is, have you used the pub/sub feature, or have you used something like an inbox outbox by using the key value store only?
If I remember correctly, for the communication we use the pub/sub.
Okay.
System.
So at that point, what happens if one of the modules is not able to receive the message? Because at that point, with pub/sub, you will lose the message, right?
Okay. If I remember correctly, there is a replica on each node.
Gotcha.
If the loss of connectivity. And I think that the message rests in the queue until the agent take it. So if the agent is not ready, we'll take the message after.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
No, if you add something, okay, I thought you
No,
were...
it's not my specific
Oh, okay, no worries.
system. So I think that it's like that.
Okay, thank you.
Question?
Hi.
Hi.
One question is about why you choose to use Redis as a queue and why not use other things, and which advantage do you take from Redis?
Okay. For the part of why we choose Redis, I'm not the person to ask. There is other people that I made to choose. But another thing that we use Redis for the key value store, for example. And some part of the configuration of the system are stored in Redis. And we basically use as Kubernetes uses etcd for the storage of configuration, the sharing of some information between nodes, for these things.
Other questions? No? Okay, so I'm gonna give you the trophy. And another round of applause.
Thank you.